Welcome to the underground, you rebel scum. This is the American Expat. You'll have to excuse my appearance. I've been out and about doing stuff, fun stuff, not work related type stuff. I was out and I actually picked up one of these. If you see what it is, it's a camera, an SLR, a film camera, not digital. And it's kind of had me thinking about things as I was listening to the radio, driving around, taking photos, which, by the way, it's been so long since I've used a film camera that I think I ruined every single photo except for maybe the last two of the whole roll of film, which I'm amazed you can still buy film at Walmart. It's not like special film or anything. The only thing they had was Fujifilm with like 400 ISO or whatever. Your really basic stuff. But yeah, I have been trying to figure out how to do the exposure or get it correct on there. It's got like a hokey light meter thing that I wasn't quite sure how to use. You have to line up this little stick with a circle with a needle, and apparently you're supposed to push a button when you do that so that you get the correct exposure. I didn't know that before I was taking all the photos, so I have no idea what they're going to look like. And I won't know for a long time because well, getting the photos developed is not so easy anymore. You remember there used to be like the 1 hour photo places. Well, they don't have that anymore. You can take your film into Walmart or to Walgreens or CVS, and they will take the film, and in a few weeks you'll have your photos. But they won't give you the negatives. So I'm not really liking that option. I want the negatives so that I can, scan them and make digital versions of them based off of the film colors and all of that. Boy, things have changed. It really got me thinking. I was listening to this advertisement about some kind of medical case where, if things really go bad, then you have your medications and you can survive. And I suddenly realized how fragile our lives actually are if we don't have this modern world around us. And it's a little bit alarming when you look around and you see the modern institutions, the things that we've built up over thousands of years, being thrown to the wayside and just abandoned carelessly. And you realize, just like the film technology that I'm using here to take these photos with this old ancient SLR camera, that's a technology that's almost lost. I mean, everything is digital now. I can talk a little bit more about that, but it just, how close are we to having some terrible disaster, and how many people would actually survive if they couldn't rely on modern technologies to get through? Thanks for sticking with us. So as I was saying before getting that coffee, I have to wonder how many of us would survive in the event that, things started breaking down. There's always talk about cyber attacks and that sort of thing. Well, what would you do? What would you do if some foreign country, Russia, China, whoever, North Korea, Iran, there's a huge list of enemies of the United States. What would you do if they cut the power, if it wasn't going to be back on for weeks? What would you do if they messed up the water filtration system where you live so that you didn't have clean running water in your house? What would you do? I mean, honestly, some people might have, water set aside, potted water. Maybe just think of the endless things. Electricity. There's so many people with medical conditions that rely on electricity in order for them to stay alive, whether it's insulin that has to be kept in the fridge, or, let's say you've got breathing equipment that has to be plugged in. That's especially something on my mind, not because anyone that I know is using breathing equipment, but there's a YouTuber that I watch. His mother just recently passed away, and what had happened, I guess, was the sleep apnea machine or whatever it was. I'm not sure if that's what it was exactly, but overnight it quit working. It's supposed to have like a backup battery, but the battery didn't work and his mom ended up passing away. And, it just makes you think, like, what would you do? What would you do if suddenly all this technology that keeps us alive were gone? I think most people would be in desperate trouble if they didn't have access to clean water. You're so used to just getting it from the tap. I mean, I am used to drinking bottled water and having to purchase water from the store because I lived abroad where you couldn't drink the the water from the tap. But what would you do? What would you do if it just stopped? Think about this. You use the bathroom at your home, unless you're out in the middle of nowhere where you have like a septic system or a sewage pond or something where it flushes out to. You're probably just, you don't even think about it. You flush the stuff away and it's gone. What do you do if that stops working? I mean, I know a lot of people, based on what happens in natural disasters, they'll just keep using it until it's overflowing. Isn't that what happened with Hurricane Katrina back in New Orleans? The people just kept using the bathrooms in the stadium until it was overflowing. What would you do? I mean, you start to see the wisdom of all the people doing the prepper stuff on the internet when you realize how fragile things actually are and how close you are to having something like that you have completely built your life around not functioning anymore. All your food in your fridge going bad. It would be a terrible situation. And, you really have to think about, what would you do? What would you do in that situation? Even if you have stuff set aside, how long is that going to last? How long is the water that you have stored aside going to last until you run out? And then what are you going to do? What if it doesn't come back? What if like I said, there's some kind of cyber attack and then it's gone for a long time? What are you going to do when you run out of water? What are you going to do? I really don't know. I mean, I guess it's funny that this all kind of came out of me using this camera here, which I'm excited to tell everybody about. I'm going to make a video about this. I don't know if I'm going to put it up on this channel or not, because people don't really come here to see about camera stuff, but it's really had me thinking, when I was a kid and growing up, even into being an adult, film was normal. That was something you just knew how to do, I never had an actual camera like this that you had to mess with everything was, I just had the point and shoot kind of camera that you don't have to do anything except load the film. And even that I messed up a couple of times, You're supposed to rewind the film and end up shredding it in the camera instead of actually rewinding the film because you missed something. But that's something that's almost been lost. I mean, the companies that make the film, I don't know, I guess Fujifilms, they're making cameras. They're making digital cameras now. But they also have some film that they make, the film that I have in this camera now. Or no, it doesn't have any film in it. I already went through the whole roll of film. It's Fujifilm. I wish I could get some Kodak film, but they just don't have it. It's not like the old days when you could go into the store and they would have different, ISOs and different things that you could get, They just don't have that anymore. And then there's no camera shops around here anyway. It's almost gone. It's crazy to me to think about that. This is a technology that was developed for over 100 years, and just recently it's kind of almost completely died, and that's strange. It's kind of like CRT TVs. How long until the technology is so old nobody even knows how to do it anymore? I guess it doesn't matter because we have new TVs, but, in the event that the electricity got taken out, none of it would matter anyway. But, it also makes me think about the quality of things now. The camera that I'm recording on, the A7 IV, is an amazing camera. I mean, it's very expensive to buy, but it does an amazing job. But I know that in a couple of years, maybe even just 1 year, they're going to release a new one, and this one will be obsolete. And everybody's going to want to have the new one. It's incredible. And plus, I don't imagine, as good as the camera is, I just don't imagine it lasting more than a few years. Whereas this thing was made, I believe, in 1977. To give you an idea. Some of you are old enough to know of that time, but that's older than me. So 1977 still works, just needed a new battery, and voila, it works. It's very mechanical. There's nothing digital about this thing, but it's incredible that they can make something like that. And now, with our amazing technology, you wouldn't expect it to last more than a few years. That's crazy to me. I'm not sure exactly how that's connected with what I was saying about things can just change so fast, and you would not be prepared. I'm really going to look into that. I know that they have stuff you can put in water to make it clean so you can drink it, but that's not going to last. There has to be a way for somebody to collect water and have a reliable way of cleaning it over and over and over again so that they don't have to rely on something they have to buy over and over again. You know, like the pellets you can put in the water or something like that. Boiling, that kind of works, except for the chemicals and metals and stuff in the water. That does not help in that situation. So I'm might actually make it more concentrated. Whereas if you could have your own sort of distilled water, I don't know if that's possible for cleaning the water. I'm going to have to really look into this, but it's got me thinking, you know, there's got to be something you can do at least to make sure that you have water, at least to make sure that you know, have a way of eating, all of that stuff. Dealing with your waste, I guess, if it came down to it. Like I said, you know, if the water's gone, you're not going to be flushing your toilet. You're not going to be able to do that. How are you going to get cleaned up? How are you going to take a shower? You're going to have to figure out how to get water, and nobody is set up to be able to do that. Like I said, unless you live out in the middle of nowhere where you have a well or something along those lines. And you know, as I said, every single day we're faced with a threat that some country that doesn't like us could just hack into our stuff and shut it down, break it for a long time to come. And then because the country that provides all the equipment that makes it work is hostile to us, they could just say, no, we're not going to send you the stuff to fix your electric grid. Too bad. I'm talking about China. We would be in huge trouble. We're in so much, I mean, the situation is so precarious. I just don't think that people realize how dangerous it actually is, how close you are at any moment to having none of that work. And you would be completely lost. Well, not all. Some of you wouldn't be completely lost. I'd like to hear, because I know a lot of people that watch the channel are into prep stuff and they know what to do in that situation. What would you do? I mean, what do you do? I'd like to hear what I'm supposed to do. Of course, I'm going to go and research it on the internet. But, you know, there's a community here of people that actually know how you can survive in those situations beyond just having a stockpile of canned food. How you can do it long term if you really, really had to. I mean, I know some wilderness survival stuff, but that's not going to help you in an urban environment. I guess maybe the situation would mean leaving the urban environment and getting away from that. But, you know, you see what these schemers out there at the top trying to make it so you can't even do that, you know, taking all the wilderness land away. I don't know that that's their purpose for doing it, but it sure does make it difficult if you did find yourself in that situation. You can't just go out and get stuff to survive because the government's like, no, you can't do that. That's our stuff. You can't hunt. You have to have a license and everything. Well, maybe it would all break down anyway, but something tells me they would still try to enforce that. I don't know. It's a crazy thing to think about, but definitely something you should be thinking about, considering the way the world is right now and how fragile everything actually is. The more advanced we become, technologically speaking, the more fragile our world actually is as a society, because it can all break. It can all stop working in so many ways. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Just my random thoughts as I'm coming back in from taking photos with this old camera. Again, let me know what you think. How would you survive in those situations? How can you get, I think water is probably the number one thing that I'm thinking about because it would be the most urgent. How can you get water and make it clean without having to rely on chemicals or other things to make that happen on an ongoing basis, something you can do over and over and over again indefinitely? Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'll see you guys in the next one. ไฟพะวงหลงเฝ้าสาวเจ้าบางปะกงทางห้วยงงหลงเกอหาโอเวรกรรมจำพรากจากไปไกลตา